All right, so we are live. Welcome everybody to October New Hampshire GEG YouTube chat. And this month we have our feature is relating to Google Lit Trips and how you can use, or I should say Lit Trips, and how you can use that with Google Earth. And so we have a panel of people here today, and we'll just do some quick introductions. So we have our special guest speaker, Eric Curts, I believe is how you say his last name. He's nodding, so okay, we're good. All right, I said it right. So Eric is joining us from the state of Ohio, so welcome, Eric. We have Jen Loughton, of course, one of our co-GEG leaders. We have Karen, who is I think a library media specialist. I think I have the right terminology there. Londonderry School District. And we have Mary Murata, who is a tech integrator from the state of Massachusetts. So we welcome Mary as well. And we are going to showcase and ask some questions and just dive into, so how can we take novels, or how can we take content and actually put it in a different, have a different perspective, different feel, and actually pull all that information into Google Earth. So that's our main focus today. And we've asked Eric, who has a great blog. If you have not ventured and discovered it or explored it, it's Control-Alt-Achieve. So Control-Alt-Achieve.com. And Eric has written a couple different blog posts in how you can actually use Lit Trips, pull it into Google Earth, or how you can actually create, possibly create your own, and what that process entails. So I think before we actually get into that, I think Jen was just going to highlight some upcoming events that are coming up. So Jen, if you want to go ahead.
Sure. So I'm just going to share my screen very quickly. And starting out, can we all see the screen with today's document?
Yep, you are good to go.
Okay, so again, here's the link to the shared document with all the resources that you will see today after the end of the discussion. So here will be all the resources and links to what we'll discuss today. Again, here is that link so that you can copy that down. As usual, we talk about different events going on. We're very excited this year for our Krista conference, Krista McAuliffe Technology Conference in November. We are going to have Adam Bello and Steve Dembo. I'm very excited about that. We're going to have joint student IT help desks from 4 different districts covering that, and 2 student help desk video production teams that will be interviewing them both and doing the support for the conference. So that's pretty exciting. NHCNP.org. The other thing to mention again is our Google Plus community to follow online. Please come to GEG New Hampshire. We have almost 700 members, so join in and be that 700 member. We'd love to have you. We have discussions going. We have events. This is where we share resources, as well as our YouTube channel right here, NHGEG. So I'm going to now just hand this back over to Craig. I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
And we actually don't have a prize for the 700. We'll just give you a little round of applause if you're our 700th adder into. Anyways, all right. So why don't we get into the nuts and bolts?
Good.
Good. You're a winner. No. So why don't we get into the nuts and bolts of what we want to talk about? So Google Earth and Google Lit Trips. So I don't know, I think it was not too long ago, Google actually created its own, or allowed the platform to work on Chromebooks. Huge, huge announcement that came out. And so basically, prior to that, you used to have to be able to download Google Earth, and you couldn't use Chromebooks. And so it was a really big announcement that Google had made not too long ago, that it actually works in the Chrome browser. And so real quick, in case you weren't aware that that existed, we're just going to quickly show you that. And so I will do that in 2 seconds here. All right. So you'll notice here up in the Omni box, you'll just go to earth.google.com is a quick way to get there, and it will ask you to go ahead and launch Google Earth. One thing I would note is that when I've had students who are using Chromebooks actually use this application, for some of them it did take a while to load. This is a robust space, and so it's something that may not they take longer than 10 seconds to load. So I think that's just something important to note. So you'll notice that we are at Google Earth, and I can go over into the search, and I can search, I don't know, Acadia.
The control box really quick. I think you need to mute everyone else's microphone. There we go.
Oh. Okay.
There we go. Perfect.
Okay. So, so I just went ahead and searched Acadia National Park, and I can actually do some exploring there. And in fact, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I go ahead and click this, I can actually find out some information about Acadia. Some images will be pulled, some little detailed information about it. And I say that, and maybe it won't load for me. Here we go. And so there will be some little information, some did you know stuff, and then some, you know, items that are related to Acadia, places that actually are there. And so I can get some information that's pulled right from that. If I back up, you know, of course, I can also zoom in. I can pull in the little dude and do some other exploring. So kind of the same sort of feel of just going to regular maps.google.com, but you can do a whole lot more. And so that's why we have Eric here, who is going to give us more insight of exactly all the really cool bells and whistles that that can be integrated with Google Earth. So I'm gonna stop talking because I'm going to give him the floor to start sharing some information about that. So away you go, Eric.
Oh, hey, thanks so much. So I'm going to start with just a little bit of housekeeping with giving a link out to folks. Now, if they open up your Google Doc that goes along with this session, all these links are in there, but if for some reason somebody can't get to it, what you can do is if you go to my website, controlaltachieve.com, and just throw a /maps on the end, that'll dump you into a page with all of my map resources. So pretty much everything I'm going to be talking about here today, you can get to as well through that. So I am likewise going to share my screen. This will probably be the last time you actually see me. So I'm going to move this over to this side and going to pull up another tab over here and going to share that screen. So give me just a sec to pull that up. And there we go. All right. So if you go to, like I said, controlaltachieve.com/maps, that'll drop you into a page where I pulled my map resources together. So as we talk about things today, I'm going to be referencing, oh, and I did this blog post that explains how to do thus and such. Well, that's where it's at. You can find all the stuff there. So for example, we'll talk about, well, how do you run a lit trip on a Chromebook? Well, there's the blog post on that. How do you make your own lit trips? Well, here's the blog post on that. Or do you want to watch a video about it? Here's the video up here that, you know, explains, you know, how to do that. So all of that can be found on that site. As far as I guess we can start with lit trips if you would like. Again, I'm happy to also just talk about Google Earth in general. There's so many neat things related to it. But if you would like, I can go ahead and start with lit trips and we can circle back around and pick up some of the other fun things related to Google Earth as we go. But
sure, that'd be great, Eric.
Fine? Okay.
Yes.
So like you said, one of the big things that has come out of having Google Earth now on the web is the ability for Chromebooks to use Google Earth and to take advantage of something that we call lit trips. Now, folks are not familiar with those. I'll explain just a little bit about what that's all about. I'm going to pop over to my blog post about using lit trips on a Chromebook. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up the Google Lit Trip website. Now that website is googlelittrips.org, all one word together like that. And this website is where you're going to be able to find lit trips. Now, what exactly are they? What's this all about? Well, basically the idea is years ago, Jerome Berg, who is another Google trainer, came up with the idea, hey, what if we took novels, that students were reading, and if it was a novel that had a lot of locations in it, what if we took those locations and pinned them on a map in Google Earth and let students not just read the novel, but actually experience it by going to the locations where things take place? Not only could we put pins on there, but we could annotate it. We could add some text. We could add some questions, maybe put in some pictures or videos or links to take you out to additional websites, and boom, Google Lit Trips was born. And it was a very popular project for students to take advantage of until, like we said, Chromebooks started becoming more popular, desktops and laptops less popular, and Google Earth used to have to run on a Mac or a PC. You had to download and install it. Well, now that we can run Google Earth on the web, suddenly we're seeing a wonderful resurgence, and rightfully so, in people getting excited about Google Lit Trips. So basically the idea is, if you go to googlelittrips.org. This is the site where you're going to be able to find and download pre-made lit trips that can then be opened up in Google Earth. Now, you as a teacher could do this, put it up on your board, your projector in your classroom, and just use it as a demonstration. Or students could do the same. They could, download the lit trips, or you could download them and make the file available to the students, and then they could go explore these while they are reading through the novel. Now, how does that process work? Well, basically, there's three things you got to go through to get a lit trip. And down the left-hand side, there's one link out of the first section, out of the second, and out of the third that you need to be aware of. Out of the first section over here on the left, there is a member registration. They do ask that you register on the site to be able to download lit trips. And really, it's nothing. There's no cost, nothing like that whatsoever. Basically, it's a link here where you fill out some information about yourself. They just want to be able to track how lit trips are being used. And so you go ahead and you fill that out. Then in the second section here on the left is where you can find the lit trips that you want to download. So this is their library, and you can go alphabetically, or you can go by grade level. So if I just go alphabetically, I'll see all of the different titles. And so here we have all of the different books that somebody has made a lit trip out of. Once you find the lit trip you want, now we get to our third and final section here on the left, which is the Google Lit Trip store. No cost involved. They just call it a store. And there's a link there that says request a lit trip. So if you've got an account, if you found a lit trip you like, go to request a lit trip, and at that point, all you have to do is put in your email address, select the actual title that you were wanting to get, and then click request lit trip. And what's going to happen is you're going to get an email sent to you. Now, I've already got ahead and queued this up. Let me drag this on over so you can see this, and I'll zoom in a bit so you can see a little bit better. These are some examples of the emails you'll get. So I've requested lit trips at different times. So like here's one, say, thank you for requesting Macbeth. And then you'll be given a link to it. At that point, you would click on that link, and it's going to download that as a zipped file onto your hard drive. So the lit trip, it is an actual file that's getting downloaded to your computer. At that point, you now have a copy of the lit trip on your computer. Here's where usually if there's going to be a problem, this is where I find people get confused or things kind of go off the tracks here. And that is getting it from that downloaded file and into Google Earth to actually play it. A lot of times people try to open the file, to run the file, to double click on the file. It doesn't work that way. Basically, what you're going to have to do is we're going to have to, number one, unzip the file. But then number two, we're going to have to go to Google Earth and pull it into Earth. It's not something that we double click on and run. It's the other way. We have to go to Earth and we have to import it and we have to pull that in. So again, let's say we've downloaded this Macbeth file and we've got it. Basically, that zipped file needs to be unzipped. And so if I go ahead and show that in my folder, and here is my Macbeth zipped file. If I right click on that, You can unzip it with whatever program you use. I use 7-zip. I'll extract it to a folder named the same. And so there we go. That's been extracted now. So that's unzipped. And so here's the folder. And inside of there is the Macbeth lit trip file. Okay, now a couple of quick things for what it's worth. You will notice at the end of it, there is a .kml extension on the end of that file. That is the extension used for Google Earth files, as well as a lot of other geo type files. It stands for Keyhole Markup Language. Google Earth did not used to be Google Earth. There was a company that made a product called Keyhole, and that's what Google Earth used to be. Google said, what a cool product, and they purchased Keyhole. They bought the company, and they renamed it Google Earth. However, they did not change the underlying technology, and so it's still called KML for Keyhole Markup Language. That file is the file with the lit trip in it. Okay, so that's how you get lit trips. So let's open it up now. So basically, like you said, we want to go to Google Earth. So we're going to head over to earth.google.com. And once we get here, we're going to launch Google Earth. And you're right, it does take a little while to load. It's got a lot of stuff to pull up. So that's reasonable. You may see that happen. Okay, now that you're in Google Earth, what we want to do is we want to load this KML file. Now, by default, you may not be able to load it right away. There may be a setting you have to switch. Now, the way you'll find out is if you go over to the left-hand side, we got all these happy buttons down here on the left-hand side. One of them looks like a place mark for a book, and like a ribbon. That's your My Places button. If you give a click on My Places, I have an option that says import KML file. You may not see that at first. It'll say, hey, welcome to My Places. Here you can add places and KML files. Well, this option here can be turned off by default. You have a settings. If you go up to your hamburger menu here in the top left-hand corner of Google Earth and you go down to your settings, there are some settings in Google Earth. And one of them is at the very bottom, a toggle switch to allow KML files to be imported. That may be off. If that's off and you go to My Places, it'll say, hey, here's a great place to import KML files, but there's nowhere to do it. So you have to go to your settings, either from the bottom here or by going into your settings here, scroll down and toggle that switch to say it's okay to import KML files. But that's basically it. As long as that's turned on, I can now go to My Places, and from My Places, I can say I want to import that KML file. Now, where can you get it from? Well, you can open it when it says open file. That means from my hard drive, or open from Google Drive. So as a teacher, if you've downloaded this and you're going to show it to your students in class, well, that's fine. Hook this up to your projector, go to open file, go hunt down that KML file that you downloaded from the email that you were sent from the Google Lit Trip site. On the other hand, you could take that KML file, you could share it through Google Drive to your students, and then they could open up Google Earth and they could just use open from Google Drive, and they could go and grab that KML file from a share in Google Drive. So that's fine too. For now though, I'm just going to say I'm going to open my file from my local computer. And there is the Macbeth. Now, I'm already inside of that folder. If not, you'd have to, drill down, find the folder. And once you get into the folder, and of course, now I've just gone out of the folder, so I got to wait for it to refresh. I need to clean up my
lost it.
I know. No, I need to clean up my downloads folder. I just unfortunately have about a million bazillion files in here. So here we go. Give it a second.
And while you do that, something that I've stolen from Mary is the idea of, one teacher can request it, and then that can then be shared with anybody in your school domain, right? So maybe
Absolutely.
Maybe it's the librarian or the tech integrator of the school can curate all of those, and then it's one shared folder, which I think would help a lot of people out too. And that's something that Mary had done, and I stole that idea from her. So just a little tip on what you had shared there.
Right. And now, obviously, the Google Lit Trip folks, Jerome Berg and his cohorts would love for you to actually request the file every single time you use one, because that's good data for them. But realistically, no, I totally understand what you're saying. And I've done the same thing. I've downloaded KML files that I use during a training. And because there's not enough time for people to register and get approved during the training, I say, here's the link to a KML file I've downloaded, and they just use my KML file, you know. So you're absolutely right. They're just files. Once you've downloaded it, you've got it, and you can share it with others. So I'm going to click on Macbeth here and go ahead and hit open. And so what it's doing now is it's pulling that lit trip into Google Earth. Now, this is a really, really, really teeny lit trip here. This is not really a very representative one. This has 5 locations. Usually you're scrolling like forever down here. There's 30, 40, 50 locations. This is fine though for our example today, just to show a very simple, small lit trip, but typically no, it's a whole lot of options down the side here. So basically here's what you're getting. We've got Google Earth loaded up as normal. And now we've got locations down the side here that correspond to different parts of the book. And what I can do is I can double click on any of these locations to fly into those locations. But I can also click on the button that has the lowercase I, the letter I on it. That's for information. And that will open up a balloon that has resources, links, pictures, whatever it might be. So for example, I'm on the before you begin section. If I hit the little I button there, it'll pop up this little box that says, hey, if you're using regular Google Earth, do this. If you're using Google Earth on the web, here's some helpful directions for you. But when I'm ready to start off, looks like Ireland is my first option. If I double click on it, I'm going to fly into Ireland. And then if I hit the information button, I'll get a pop-up that has information about that, a link out to Scottish weaponry, and so forth. Now, some locations have more things than others. I believe this last location had quite a few things on it. If I go into the information button for that one, I'm getting some pictures. I'm getting links out to some websites. Sometimes I've seen embedded videos. I've seen people, you know, link in Google Docs that you'll click on. It'll make a copy of an activity for the student to fill out. You know, the sky's the limit. Basically, anything that's online, you can hyperlink and, you know, have included into this. Now, also keep in mind, this is still live Google Earth. So you can still zoom out, zoom in, move around, switch from, you know, 3D to 2D, you know, whatever you might want to do. So it's still all fully interactive. All the lit trip is doing is giving you the initial frame of reference, saying, you know, here is the next location. You're still completely welcome to move around, or like you had mentioned, even using Pegman down here, grabbing him and dragging and dropping him if it's got Street View. Now, not every location has Street View. My guess is some of these probably do and some of them don't. This may not be the best lit trip to show Street View on. Some of these places may not have as much Street View as others. We'll zoom in a bit and see if there's any Street View up here. Nope, I'm not getting any Street View. If you do, there'll be lines to show you. But if we pick something that we'll go over to Ireland, where maybe there's see if we can get a spot with a little bit more roads. Any Street View over here? No, that's okay. But we can switch into Street View as well in some of the more developed areas where they've had a chance to drive the cars up and down. So that's basically the idea of going out to Google Lit Trip website, registering on the site, then looking through their titles, then requesting a lit trip, getting an email with the zip file, downloading that, unzipping it on your computer, and then from your My Places, importing that in. And you're good to go. So that'd be using somebody else's lit trip. Yep. Now, I'm happy to switch gears when you're ready, and we can talk about creating your own, but that pretty much gets you to opening a lit trip that somebody else has made.
That's awesome. And one thing I did want to mention is we noticed that is it Jerome? Is that his name?
Jerome Berg, yes.
Yeah, he's very very supportive and wants people to be able to use this feature seamlessly. And I've noticed on Twitter, anytimes I've tweeted about using lit trips, you know, always replying back saying, if you have any questions, let us know. So I give him kudos to really wanting to help support people who are you know, trying to use that feature. So I think that, you know, it's a big kudos to him.
And he will also probably a lot of times say, be aware, not all lit trips have been updated to work as well with Google Earth on the web as they did with Google Earth that was installed on your desktop. And you'll even see on the home page of the Google Lit Trips website, he'll say, here are some that we've definitely given the seal of approval to, that somebody's taken the time to go through and clean up and make sure that it's working properly in Google Earth on the web. Now you say, well, Eric, what do you mean? What could go wrong? Well, for example, let me go ahead and discard this one, and I'll open up a different one. So another one that I had downloaded in the past was Esperanza Rising. That's a young adult novel that two of my sons have read as they've come up through the middle school, so I'm familiar with the book. I believe this is the folder with it. Yep, there it is, Esperanza Rising. Now notice when I open this one up, this is not one of the ones that's been updated yet for Google Earth on the web. It works fine, but what you're going to notice is something kind of funky here. You're going to see a bunch of red X's. So what's happening is these are the place marks. So if I go ahead and fly into a location, normally what we'd be seeing here as we go into these locations would be some sort of an icon for that spot. Now your generic icon is just the red pin that gets stuck somewhere. Well, that's not what these were. The story of Esperanza Rising follows a girl from Mexico as she's traveling from Mexico all the way up into the U.S. And there's a lot of discussion about harvesting and different crops as they work their way on up through here. And so each chapter is named after a different fruit or vegetable or something that's being harvested. That's what these icons were. They were custom icons with the picture of the fruit or the vegetable. Well, for whatever reason, they work fine if you open them up in the old Google Earth, the one installed on your computer. They don't load up yet properly on Google Earth for the web. So just be aware, you may hit a couple of odd things that don't quite look right, but you can still completely appreciate the actual lit trip and be able to take advantage of all of the resources in there. Just wanted to let you know that Jerome will also be quick to let people know, hey, there's still a few wrinkles.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. All right. So I guess the next question, which is going to be a good segue, there's something out there called Google My Maps, and you can get to that through Google Drive by going into New and creating a map. And there's also something called Google Tour Builder. And I think the questions that I know Mary asks the question, and I know some other people have come to me to say, hey, which one should we use? Like, does it make sense? Should I, if I want to create my own tour, or if I want to be able to pin things, does it make sense to do one over the other? And your perspective, Eric, which do you tend to direct people in terms of, all right, so you've used somebody else's, now that's kind of inspired you to do something on your own? Like, what do you tell people?
Absolutely. That is a really good thing, I think, to be that next step. Start with exploring tours other people have built, but to let students create their own tours, that's fantastic. To create their own lit trips, to put together things like this, what a great way for students to show their understanding, whether it be for a novel that they're reading, or it could be maybe not even a novel. It could just be content from the class. They're retracing the Lewis and Clark expedition. They're visiting different biomes of the world. They're finding buildings around the world in different, solid shapes and whatever it might be. It doesn't even have to be a lit trip in particular, but yes, students should be building things by using mapping tools. So you're right. We've got two main contenders out there. One would be Google Tour Builder, and then the other is Google My Maps. Now, like you said, Google My Maps, one easy way to get to there is if you go to your Drive and click New, More, and then My Maps, you will see Google My Maps is an option inside of your Drive, and that will generate a blank map for you that you can then start dropping pins on top of. So you've got those two tools, Google My Maps and Tour Builder. Short answer is they both will work. You can make a lit trip with both of these. Shorter answer, I would say Tour Builder is your better choice if what you're trying to do is a classic lit trip. If that's what you're trying to accomplish. There are a lot of reasons to use My Maps as well. Don't get me wrong, I love My Maps. I'm happy to kind of compare and contrast them so you can understand what makes one better than the other for different things. But if you're saying the end result is, I want to have basically a lit trip like we just saw, you're going to have more success with Tour Builder. It's really designed for that. Going back to what I said earlier, if you do head over to my website at controlaltachieve.com/maps, there I do have a blog post called Create Your Own Lit Trips and More for Google Earth. That is a blog post that takes you through step-by-step using Tour Builder to make a lit trip. And then I just recently as yesterday, did one of my webinars on that same topic. And so this webinar on Google Tour Builder for any subject takes everything from that blog post, and actually we go through it step by step, and I demonstrate creating a tour from scratch in Tour Builder and then getting it into Google Earth and all of that. So all of the gory details are there. What I'll show you today is going to be really abbreviated, but I just want people to know there's an hour-long webinar there if you want to see all the gory details of it later on. So basically, when it comes to Tour Builder versus My Maps, what's the same between them? Well, they both allow you to drop pins on a map. You can say, I want to put these locations on a map, and you can put together sets of locations. Okay, so that's fine. And they both allow you to annotate those locations. So if I, come into Tour Builder and drop a pin, or if I go to My Maps and I drop a pin, I'm allowed to put in a description. I'm allowed to add images. I'm allowed to add links. I'm allowed to, put other additional information to go along with it. Where they start to become a little different. Tour Builder, not necessarily on the negative side, but one of its limits is that it's not collaborative. Tour Builder is just you making a tour. Now, you can share it with somebody else, but it's only view rights. You can't share it for them to work on it. My Maps is just like a Google Doc. I can share this, and I can have other people inside of the map working with me at the same time. Okay, so that's nice, but Tour Builder is a little bit easier to do, let's say, rich content. So if I want to add links and bullets and numbering and bold and italics and things that look a lot like what we're seeing here when we go into these tours, yeah, that you're going to be able to do a lot easier in Tour Builder. Also, Tour Builder is really designed to be sequential. These are the locations you're going through in this order. My Maps, not necessarily. My Maps can just be a bunch of points dropped all over the map. They don't have to be in an order. So it's more of a collection of locations, not necessarily going in a certain order. And then lastly, when you build something in Tour Builder and you're ready to, you're all done with it, getting it into Google Earth is so easy. It's crazy. It's literally clicking a button. Whereas with My Maps, you have to go through the process of exporting it as a Kml file and then doing the import into Google Earth. Not that it's hard. We can do it. We've seen ourselves do it already, but it's that extra step of always having to export the Kml file and then pull it back in. So having said that, I would say if you're doing a lit trip, I would use Tour Builder. Now, I'm just going to show you a tour that I've already built so you can just kind of see what it looks like. And if you want to, go ahead, please.
Sorry to interrupt. I think Mary has a question she wants to ask.
Yeah.
Yes, Eric, I just had a question that I did have students use My Maps and then export the file and bring it into Google Earth.
Absolutely.
And then you're right, I discovered Tour Builder. But something happened today in class where the teacher had built a, in Google Earth, had used bookmarks and built her tour right in Earth.
Yes.
And what I thought was really interesting, when she was done, she downloaded it, but she happened to have Google Earth Pro on her laptop, and it made this like beautiful slideshow, and it ran automatically of all the places that she had bookmarked. And I tried to find or replicate that in Google Earth for Chrome or in Tour Builder, and I couldn't do that.
So what you're talking about is in the regular version, the old version of Google Earth.
Yes.
If you have any sort of collection of place marks put together, whether it's a
Yes.
lit trip, whatever it might be. Yes, there is a play button. You can hit play and it literally flies you from one place to the next, to the next, to
Yes.
the next, to the next. That is a feature of the downloadable, installable version of Earth that currently is not in the web
Okay.
version. My guess is it will be at some point, but it's just not yet. So right now you have to manually click on each location. So whether I'm in My Maps, whether I'm in Tour Builder, whether I'm in Google Earth, if it's any of these web versions, to go to the next location, I literally have to double click on it or use the next arrow to fly into the next location. There is not a play option yet, but let's hope there will be.
So could I download what I made in My Maps or in this Google Tour Builder into a similar type file and then play it in Google Earth for Windows?
Absolutely, yeah, as long as you've got the installed version of it, because both Tour Builder and My Maps allow you to export in the KML format without any problem at all. So anything you build in Tour Builder,
I actually didn't know you could export at KML, so that's something I just learned from My Maps. So that,
Yeah. So again, if you're in My Maps, basically, if I come in here and I drop a pin, somewhere, I can go ahead and again, just put in a quick little description for it there, save that pin. Once I've got that pin dropped in, it gets added to my list of locations. I can come in and I can change the style, the color of it, the icon of it. I can, edit it and add a description to it. I can come in here and add photos if I want to add pictures or videos attached to it. But when I'm all done building my list of my locations, you're right. The three little dots in the top here allow me to choose export to KML, and I can spit that out as a KML file. Now, if I go to Tour Builder, I'll go ahead and open up one I've already got. Otherwise, you can just come in here and create a tour. Now, if you're not signed in, it won't say create a tour. You'll just click the sign in button. I'm already signed in, but you don't need a new account or anything. You just hit sign in and just choose your Google account and you'll be in, and you can create a new tour. I'm going to go ahead and open up a tour that I made, which is one on the book Small as an Elephant. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And I'm going to switch into edit mode just so you can see what that looks like. And so this is basically what Tour Builder looks like in edit mode. Now, I've already obviously created this one, so I've got a lot of content in it. But if you were to create a brand new one, it would have the same layout as this. It would just be waiting for you to go in and start, adding locations and actually, building that. But basically, the way Tour Builder works is it starts off with an introduction. The introduction does not have an address or anything on the map. This is just the introduction where you've got your title, your name as an author, and then a description. In this case, I put in a little blurb about what this book is about, which was so strange that you chose Acadia National Park because that's where this book starts. When you use that as an example, I didn't know if you knew that I was going to talk about this book or if we are psychically linked. So somehow...
So fun fact, I picked it because I visited Acadia this summer, and one of my questions that I had was going to be, so, I'm really interested in taking photosphere pictures now for places I go, and I upload it to Maps, and, can you take those things and insert them into a tour builder?
Yeah, sure. Because you certainly can put 360-degree things in as long as you have access to it in your Google Photos or if you put it on YouTube. Because what happens is, and I'll do two things. I'm going to open up another one so I don't mess up the one that I have right now, just so I'll just say I'm creating a new tour and we'll just call it Test 2 and put my name in there. And so when you create a new blank tour, like I said, you're going to get, the title and your name and a description of it. And you can add like a cover photo if you want. And that's kind of what I did here on this one is I just used the cover of the novel and put it there. But the point is, after you've done your little intro, what you start doing then is you'll notice that below the introduction, there's a big blue button that says Add Location. When you click on Add Location, that's where you now go out and search for the spot that you want to drop a place mark on. And in my case, this book, the Small as an Elephant book, it's actually a Seawall Campground is where the story begins, and that is up in Acadia. And so if we go here and zoom in on there, that is the location where the story begins. The child, the young boy in the story gets lost and abandoned there, and he has to find his way back home. And it's an awesome, really neat story. But once you have found a location, you're like, yep, that's the spot I want. You'll see a big blue button that says Add to Tour, and you click on that to confirm it. And as soon as you do, that will become a location down the left-hand side. So if I hit Add to Tour, now it's officially in my locations. And I can keep adding more locations and build the tour. And for each location, you can change the title. You can add up to 25 photos and videos. You can put dates with it. You can put a description with it. You can also come over here and adjust the initial view. It doesn't have to be like this. I can actually zoom in. I can move the pin around and say, actually, let's have it start here and say, you know what? Not only do I want them to see this location, but let's grab a little peg man up here and let's do some street view. And let's drop them into street view location. And so when this starts up, this will be what the student sees when they first get to this location. And you can click lock this view and lock that in. And now that's the view that's attached to that location. Now, of course, they can zoom in and out and leave street view or whatever they want when they play the tour. And as far as adding photos and videos, your question of can you add things that are not just a regular photo or regular video? Basically, if you click add photos and videos, as long as you can get to it in this list here, then it's something you can add. So it's going to go to your album. So that's Google Photos. Anything you've saved in Google Photos, you're allowed to add, or anything from your YouTube channel, or you can upload photos, or you can upload videos, or you can take a snapshot with your camera, or you can search for images, search for YouTube, put in an image address or a YouTube address. So like yesterday, somebody asked in the webinar, what about 360-degree videos? Well, if I search YouTube and I say I'm looking for a 360-degree video, I threw a few more descriptors in there. We could probably find something that matches what we're looking for. But I could come and say, oh, here's a cool roller coaster one that's a 360-degree video. I can go ahead and select that and add it to my tour. And when somebody goes to play that tour and they play that video, it'll be a 360-degree video. They can, drag it around and look at it from all the different angles. So basically, that's the idea. You build the tour, and as you can see, here's what a completed tour looks like. So each of my locations, I have, if I come here and click on my different locations, well, hello.
So,
hello.
So Eric, so
Yes.
I just want to make sure that I understand what you had indicated. When you do have a placeholder, whatever view you see on the right-hand side will be the initial like zooming in spot, and then they can move however they want, but you can customize again how far or where exactly you want that pin to be.
Yep.
Correct. And what?
So you're
have
given the starting point. That is correct. You're giving the starting point. And so, for each one of these locations here, I get to decide, exactly how the initial frame looks. If I want to go to street view, if I want to zoom in, zoom out, whatever, you can even change the icon. If you scroll to the bottom, there's an option to change your icon. I put, a fork and knife here because it's a restaurant that he goes to at that spot. And again, you can add as many photos and videos as you want, or you can even embed them right into the description here like I did. And you can add links that jump out to other websites so that you can have this be more interactive. So basically, that's how you build the tour. And go ahead.
We also, sorry to cut you. We also have someone, Neil Sonnenberg from who's watching live right now on YouTube, asked the question: can a tour builder be shared with another student? Edit privileges so they can collaborate on the project. I'm thinking he's asking. So let's say I do the project, I start it. Is there any other way other than sharing to see? Is there any other way that someone can edit while it might not be a true collaboration in real time? Is there any ability for editing?
There's no editing for collaboration in Tour Builder. So as long as it's inside of Tour Builder, if I go to, we'll see, I'm done editing here. If I go to the share button here in the top right, my options are to share it with a person or to share it as a link, but it is only as a view, right? There's no edit rights. I can put in somebody's email address here and say I'm going to share it with that person. All they get is view rights. They can simply open it up and play it. They cannot make any changes to it inside of Tour Builder. Now, once you get it into Google Earth, then if you wanted to, you could edit some stuff inside of Earth. You can move things around, and you can add some more place marks, and you can do some minor editing in there. But at the moment, I totally understand, that is a drawback to the way Tour Builder is set up. Whereas with my maps, any map I create in here, if I hit the share button, it's the normal, I got to give it a title here, test. So basically this is the normal share screen we're all used to, where you can choose, edit or view and so forth. So if you do a My Map, then yeah, you can have collaborative editing on it. Whereas with Tour Builder, no, it is just one person working on that tour that you've made.
Here's another question. I know that we just keep firing at you, Eric. You're doing great answering them, by the way. So I know that Google Tour Builder has a small set of, like, a gallery where you can, find some that people have made. Do you know of anything other than that? Do you know if there's a shared Google folder somewhere where some people have been creating it besides Jerome and Lit Trip's website?
No, I really don't. You're right. If you go to Tour Builder and you go to Gallery at the top of Tour Builder, there's a small, and you're right, very small collection of some featured ones. I've tried to find some cool ones and link them in on my blog post that I did recently about creating tours. So if you go to my Google Tour Builder for any subject blog post, and you scroll on down below the training video and below the slideshow, I have linked in not a bunch, but a couple from different grade levels. And as I come across more, I'll add some more in there. But no, there's not, to my knowledge, I'm not aware of a clearinghouse that somebody has put together to say, hey, here is a great collection of links to these. I'm sure it's something that could be crowdsourced pretty easily and should be done, and maybe already is, and I just don't know that somebody has done that. And if somebody can share that, that would be great to know. All we would need would just be, a Google spreadsheet where people add in the link and add in the description, and then, boom, there we go. We've got an awesome crowdsourced, Tour Builder database. But again, I am not aware. I am personally not aware of anybody doing that yet. Yeah.
Okay.
And I did see a question pop up from Karen. She was asking about the videos and images. Are those free for use, or is there a license issue with that? It's this. If you come here and say, I want to add a video or add an image to my tour, when you run a search for images, this is the exact same search box you get when you do this for docs, and it says results shown are labeled commercial for reuse. So this is just like searching inside of Google Docs. These are going to be images that are allowed to be reused, as opposed to those that are bound by some copyright, which is also why you won't find as many images. So like if I come here and say, oh, I want to find something from Acadia National Park, when I do that, I'm going to get some pictures, but not as many as if I did a regular Google image search, where I would have images that aren't just from people who have shared them for reuse.
I think that's helpful.
Yeah. Now, when you're all done building the tour, here's where I said I think Tour Builder really shines. First of all, it's very easy to build. As you can see, it's real easy to add locations, and you can do nice, rich text editing on those locations. Now, when you're all done with it, you can obviously play the tour inside of Tour Builder. So if I share the link with somebody and say, hey, here's the link to my tour, they can open it up from that link. It'll open up just like this, and you can just hit the next button, and it will fly you from location to location, and you can read the information and click next again, and it'll take you to the next location. You can read the information, and that's great. Okay. It's more, just little jumps as it moves from spot to spot, but you can get the pictures and you can get all the text and all that. Well, what's really nice at what they've done with Tour Builder now is if you open up a tour in Tour Builder like this that somebody has shared with you, or it's your own tour, either way is fine. If you go to the very top right-hand corner where the hamburger button menu item is up there and click on that, you will see in the drop-down menu, Open in Earth is just built right into the menu. Now, I still could go the old route. I could say, let's go here and click Export, and let's download this as a KML file, which is what we used to have to do. And in, let's pull that into Google Earth. Well, this is just within like the last 2 weeks or so. This is a brand new feature they've added. I do include that in my most recent webinar I did on this, that if you go up to the menu button and you say open in Earth, it is literally just going to launch Google Earth for you, and it's going to load that tour right into Google Earth without you having to do anything else. And so give it a second to load, and here is my small as an elephant tour. And what you're going to notice is really cool about this is it's got all the locations down the left. And on the right, it's got a panel with those, what would normally have been a pop-up, window. It's over here on the side. And now as I click between these, it's going to fly me into each of the locations as I do that. And again, I can move it around. I can zoom in, zoom out, whatever I might want to do. And I can see whatever pictures or videos have been added up here. And I can fly from spot to spot to spot. And it is, actual, like I'm really flying between those different locations as I do that. It'll shoot me around. And so, and again, like we said, we can switch, 2D and 3D if you want to get a better perspective.
It's very clean, I feel. I like the look of it on the side. It's very visual. It's just a great way for students to connect to a book that they're reading in class. And I think it's just, like you said, what a great way to have students create one, or, group of students. It's just too bad there's no collaborative piece, but I get it. Sometimes
well, the only thing I can tell you, though, that can help a little bit is, as a little aside, when you are building your tour. So if I'm in here editing this tour, probably one of the biggest portions of it is this box, the description, okay? Well, you can type all of this up ahead of time in a Google Doc, and you can simply copy and paste it right into here. So for example, if I were to have a blank Google Doc,
that's a good tip.
I can type up all of this information ahead of time. Not only that, but I can actually put in links. I can put in pictures. I can do all kinds of stuff. So for example, let's say I come back over to, let me find the right window here. And
don't mess up your good one.
Enough windows going on here. Let's come back over to, let me just grab this example here. So let me grab my text, give it a second to, there we go. So that's how I did this, where I got the Massachusetts license plate in the middle here. I actually did this in Google Docs. So if I come here and I have a Google Doc and I'll just throw the text in, and let's say I've typed this up, I could say, oh, let's insert an image, and I could go out and run a search for a Massachusetts license plate and grab my license plate and drop that in to there. And then if I want to add links, I could turn things into links. I could do all of this work ahead of time. And then all I do is come here, copy, and come over to my tour and paste.
That's a great tip. That's a great
and it will paste that right on into there for you. And so you can make all of this up ahead of time in different Google documents. And so you could be writing the story separately and then just have the one account where you're finally copying and pasting and putting all of that into there. So that is an option. It's something to consider that would give you a little bit more collaboration. And again, that's what I did to get just some flexibility when I wanted an image inside of the text rather than putting the image up here in the photo and video section. And that allowed me to do that. Yeah.
I actually used that tip in class today. We actually put students into groups, and just like you would if you were movie making or doing a project, we gave each person a different role. So we had 2 students collaborating in a Google Doc to collect the information, and then we had 1 person in the Google Tour Builder pulling that information. So it was collaborative in nature, but they weren't all necessarily in the Tour Builder together.
That's a great idea. Wow,
so
that works great.
It worked well. The only thing I got hung up on then, I had, like I said earlier, I had someone that then downloaded the file to Google Earth Pro, and then everyone liked the fact that it would just autoplay. They did have the question, though, if they downloaded that file and it autoplayed, could they then share that file that they downloaded, like onto their portfolio or tweet it out, or was it tied to the folder that they downloaded it to?
Yeah, so basically what they've downloaded is the KML file. And
Okay.
so, you know, they can certainly share that with other people, but people on the other end just have to have something
They have
that
to
can open up
import
a KML file. So either they have to have Google Earth installed on their computer, or they have to go to Google Earth on the web and open the KML file.
import it.
The only other thing I would suggest, and I'll give credit to Jolie Boucher for this. I always am so worried I'm going to mispronounce her name. I love Jolie. She does a great blog, shares a lot of awesome stuff. She had done a Google Tour Builder training a while back where she talked about using some screencasting tools as your last step to basically record the tour being played and narrating and so forth. And I totally would support that as well. I love using Screencastify, and now there's a bunch of other options you have. I think Screencastify is a great option for that. The idea being that you could, you know, pull this up in Google Earth and fire up Screencastify and let it start recording. And then as it's recording, you start moving from location to location as you're narrating and describing what's happening. Because what Screencastify is going to do is record a video of that, save that video to your Google Drive, and then you can just give that video to anybody, post it on your site, put it on YouTube, share it out however you want. And that would be another way for people to experience it. It's not interactive now, of course, but it is playing through it, and with the option of maybe even you narrating on top of it and giving additional information. So Screencastify is a wonderful tool. I've got a webinar I did a while back on 7 uses for Screencastify, and you can check that one out. It explains how to use the program, but then we go through a bunch of different creative ways that students can use screencasting as part of the learning process.
Nice, nice. Karen, do you have any other questions that? Oh, your sound. Oh, that's okay. If you want to type it, we can go ahead and answer that for you. But I think, Eric, this might be pushing the envelope a little too far. You know, I know a lot of people have been using Google Expeditions on mobile devices, and Google has created, there's you know of a way by which a teacher could go into that realm, or is that, am I like way
well, yeah, not yet, but I definitely say yet, because I do believe this is coming. At the moment, Google Expeditions does not have an editor option where you can build your own expeditions.
Right.
I'm fully confident, though, that something like that is coming. I can't imagine us not having that ability down the road. Expeditions, it's still a new product. And so at the moment, there's really not a way to, create your own expeditions, although there's other tools out there, like ThingLink has a pro version that allows you to create things very similar to an expedition. You can use tools like Cardboard Camera, which is an app for Android and iOS that allows you to record 360-degree images along with your voice, and you can string those together to kind of build your own homemade expedition. But no, at the moment we don't have that. I'm hoping, though, we will get that soon. Actually, what would be perfect is we just need the ability, honestly, to be able to play Google Earth in Google Cardboard, because then you could use the Google Earth mobile app, pull up a KML file to load the lit trip, and then drop that into Cardboard to switch it over to basically what would in effect be like an expedition. So I'd say hang on. We should probably see some solutions to that soon, but I think you're right. That is the next logical step.
It's the next level, right? It's the next level. But we got to take baby steps, of course.
That's okay.
Mary, did you have any other questions? I know we.
No, I just think it's really interesting because I've been playing with my maps, Google Earth, a little bit with expeditions, and it's as soon as I start with one, like my maps, all of a sudden a few weeks ago, I realized I just did 10 steps, and Google Tour Builder put it into 1 step, just by being able to play it in Google Earth. So that was more appealing to show that to teachers. But now they're coming and saying, so how do I find out if The Boy That Harnessed the Wind or Jane Eyre, like, is there a Google Lit trip, or should I be looking at expeditions? How do I navigate what's already created before I start making my own? So I feel like I'm jumping back and forth between looking at, Shakespeare expeditions and trying to find them what they need, and Google Lit Trips. I'm hoping now that we're using Chrome, there will be more Google Lit Trips for teachers to choose from.
Well, I definitely think you're going to see a resurgence in lit trips, and we're seeing, again, not a lot was done with it for the last few years because we weren't seeing as many people running native programs like the old Google Earth. But now Jerome has said there's a lot more requests for lit trips and a lot more lit trips being developed. So I think we're going to see that, exploding in itself. But you're right. I'm not aware of a clearinghouse of lit trips. Now, when it comes to expeditions, there is for that. Google maintains a master spreadsheet. I don't have the link on me at the moment. I'd have to dig it out and find it, but it's not like a hidden thing that they, have secret. There is a link on, to their expeditions master spreadsheet that you can pull up, and it's view only. Obviously, we can't change it, but you can search through it, and they always add all their new expeditions to that. So there is a central Google spreadsheet for all of the official expeditions. Now, as soon as we can create our own expeditions, then that'll explode too, and there'll be people creating expeditions left and right. But a lot of it does come back to the idea of, it's great to find stuff that's pre-created so that you can use that to supplement learning, but it's also fantastic to let the kids make this stuff themselves. Let it be something where they're creating content that is feeding back into the class, and maybe say, well, we can't have every single kid doing the same book. Well, okay, pick different books or different aspects of the book, and year after year, they can build their own library, or they can, build onto one. If it's a Kml file, then okay, we can take that and we can, build onto it and keep making it more impressive as time goes on. One other thing I wanted to say, though, since you mentioned My Maps again, because I was just feeling a little bad that it might get a bad rap here at the end. My Maps, one thing I would definitely suggest as a use, and this is not, I will not take credit for this. I give credit to Garth Holman, one of my colleagues here in Northeast Ohio. What he does with My Maps, I think, is phenomenal. He has the kids, he teaches social studies, 7th grade social studies. He has them create a map, a My Maps, at the start of the school year. And then every time they learn anything new in social studies class, they have to go to that map, find where on the world that thing is that they just learned about, drop a pin on it, and then fill in with the edit mode all the notes they can about that thing. So they fill in everything they learned about that location. And usually it's over in Europe or wherever, because they're doing world history. And so day by day by day by day, they're building, each student, this amazing map that has everything they've learned the entire year. All their notes are on there. And so anytime that they need to look at a topic, it's in context. They're seeing how all of these things fit together. And then the next year, the 8th grade teacher picks it up, and they open up their same map at the start of 8th grade, and they start adding, things for American history, over here. And so what a great way to take notes in a very visual, format by using My Maps for that. So, and of course, they can share that with their teacher. They share that with their teacher, and their teacher can grade it just like it's a Google document. They can see, have you been putting all this information in there? They can add pictures, they can add notes, they can add all kinds of stuff. So again, that's something that is good because it's not necessarily a tour. We're not going, point A to B to C. We're putting all the information we've collected throughout the year onto the globe.
Great. No, I appreciate you sharing that. I think that's a clever way of using My Maps. And I think, you can also pull in data from a form and have it populate pins for you. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it comes down to, and I think you've highlighted this, Eric, that it all comes down to like the purpose and what you're trying to accomplish. Whether it's Google Tour Builder or if it's My Maps, it's figuring out which direction makes the most sense. And I think for me, I'll agree with you, seeing both sides, that it probably does make sense to do a tour builder if you're going to actually want to pull that into Google Earth and actually have it be a sequential thing. And I think that what you've shared today has helped make some more sense out of that. I think for people who might be trying to decide which one they should be using.
Trey, I think the other option that was really interesting is the one that we stumbled upon last spring when we were actually importing spreadsheet information from a Google form. So we did, for instance, like where seniors were going to college, and we imported that information with the import function onto a Google map and then customized it. So I think there's a lot of other uses than collecting data and mapping it. And I think teachers are looking for those types of ideas that they can readily apply to their classroom.
Yes, yes. Yeah, no, I agree with you. It all comes down, you know, again, to what are you trying to do? And like you said, you can't do that with a tour builder. So, I want to be cognizant of time. It looks like we're 5 minutes over. Oh no! So I do want to thank Eric for coming and joining us. Again, he did this all on his own. You know, willing to pop in, share his knowledge. He has a great website, controlaltachieve.com. Check it out if you've not seen it before. You know, I don't know how he does that and work full time and do all this stuff. Maybe crazy, but he has some really, really good detailed information on all the different tools relating to Google and other web tools. So definitely check him out. I do want to, you know, again, say thank you for coming, Eric. And of course, I want to thank everybody else that's joined in. I think this has been a great evening and just learning. And, you know, if you're not learning, then you're in the wrong business, right? So thank you, Eric. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody else. For next month, we don't have our actual topic yet. But we will let you know that in the coming weeks. And we hope everyone has a great evening. And we'll see you in a month. Again, it's always the third Wednesday of every month. We'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody.